Hello, everybody. Hey. All right. Thank you for coming to this wonderful lunch. Today, we have Michael Schwartz with San Diego County Gun Owners speaking. This organization is a great organization who has made quite a bit of law change with firearms in California and is one of the organizations that's kind of like the first line of defense here. And they've been doing a lot of work and a lot of candidate support and personally one of my more favorite organizations out here in Southern California. So can you all welcome Michael Schwartz?
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you guys having me. It's really a huge honor that you guys invited me to come speak. And my understanding is you had some big speakers here, Carl DeMaio and Richard Bailey, right? Didn't they come and talk as well? No? Oh, well. They both backed out? I was about to compliment them. Forget that. I think what happened is they heard I was going to come and speak, and there's no way they're going to fill my shoes. I mean, come on. Well, that's too bad because they're actually both really great activists, and I'm honored to be here. San Diego County Gun Owners, we're a political organization. We focus just on Second Amendment issues. We focus right here in town, right in San Diego. Your 18 city councils, mayors, county board, sheriff. We didn't want to duplicate what was already being done on the state and federal level. We wanted to do true grassroots activism. I apologize, I got a little bit of a dry cough. I'm just getting over a little thing here, so bear with me. I appreciate your patience with me. I'm very, very proud of San Diego County Gun Owners. More people hold office because of Second Amendment. More people run for office because of Second Amendment. More people own guns, carry guns, train with guns, talk about guns, see guns on the news because of San Diego County Gun Owners and the hard work that we've put into it in the last 10 years of our existence. I'm extremely proud of the way we've changed culture and the way we've changed politics in San Diego, to a lesser extent, the entire state of California, and even touched national a little tiny bit. And that's way more than I ever thought we were going to do. And I wanted to tell you the story real quick. But before I did that, I wanted to just touch on some of the gun laws that are happening in California. It is harder to be a gun owner in California than it is to be just about anything else you can think of. It's harder to be a gun owner in California than it is to be a homeowner. It's harder to be a gun owner in California than it is to be a taxpayer in California. It's harder to be a gun owner than it is to be an illegal immigrant or to be an abortion clinic or you name it. And it doesn't quite get the attention it deserves, what's happening to gun owners in California. They're losing their liberty. They're losing their savings account. They're losing their families. We're inundated with ridiculous taxes and horrifically restrictive laws. People are going to jail because of normal activity, because they're owning normal firearms and doing normal things with firearms, things that are legal in 49 other states. But the brain trust up in Sacramento has decided that your Second Amendment is entirely different here in California. You have restrictions on what you can purchase. You have restrictions on handguns, shotguns, rifles. You have extreme restrictions on rifles. You have extreme restrictions and what I call a de facto slow-moving ban on most handguns. And we've been fighting back in the courts. We've been fighting back at the ballot box. There are extreme restrictions on where you can carry, even if you have a carry permit. You have to have a carry permit just to defend yourself and protect yourself and your family when you leave the house. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And if you look at all these restrictions in California, they're all being implemented back east. In fact, if you've been paying attention, Virginia just flipped, and now a whole slew of anti-gun bills are moving their way through the legislature at lightning speed. And if you look at the laws, they're identical to the laws that are happening here in California. Thomas Jefferson is rolling in his grave. George Washington is rolling in his grave. So we've been fighting back, and we've, in a lot of ways, been very, very effective. You can carry a firearm here. Before San Diego County gun owners, you couldn't. And that was a direct result of the things that we did before the Supreme Court decision. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you can get a CCW now because of the Bruin case, the Supreme Court decision. And I said, well, it certainly helped, but you can't get one in LA. You can't get one in San Francisco. Good luck, but you can get one in San Diego, and you could even before the Supreme Court demanded it. And that's because of the work of San Diego County gun owners. There are people that are serving at on the county board where we made the difference and got them elected. There's the sheriff. We directly got her elected over her opponent. There's the mayor of Escondido. We have a nice long list that I'm very, very proud of people that we made the difference and we got them elected. There are people that we recruited and ran for office, and they're holding office today and are extremely proud. There's a city council member in La Mesa. I could go on and on and on. We are on a number of lawsuits, which was a never part of the plan. We never thought, in fact, part of the reason we structured San Diego County gun owners the way we structured it is we were putting too much effort into lawsuits. We're putting too much effort into lawsuits. And I said, you know what? We got to get back to good old-fashioned activism. We have to get people elected. We have to raise money. We have to change public policy right here, right now. We can't just throw up our hands and go, oh, somebody will sue. And on that note, who here can tell me how many times a lawsuit in the Ninth Circuit has actually changed a gun law in our entire history? How many times has that happened? It's actually one time. And it's our case. We were plaintiffs. And we're very, very proud of that. The Sacramento said, well, thank you. For us to be front and center, thanks also to Firearms Policy Coalition. They did a fantastic job of organizing and running that case, but we were plaintiffs and we worked side by side with them. But there are a number of Second Amendment organizations who that is their only focus. And for us to exist and not be our focus at all and win that case, we're very, very proud. Sacramento said, hey, you can only purchase one firearm a month. And we fought that. Imagine if they said you can only purchase one book a month. Imagine if they said you could only write one book a month, right? How come the Second Amendment is this secondary right? How come it doesn't have the same respect? Now, earlier I said, hey, it's harder to be a gun owner in California than it is to be a homeowner, a taxpayer, you know? And I went on and on, an abortion clinic, right? And I kind of get it. I get the culture. Nobody is using an abortion clinic in a bank robbery, right? They're not using it to go to a school and do some horrific event. But that's one side of it, and it's such a small side of it. What they are using firearms for is to protect themselves. And we talk about tyranny and fighting back against a tyrannical government, but the reality is, more often than not, every day in the United States, somebody uses a firearm that they legally own and carry to fight the tyranny of a neighbor. In other words, somebody that's trying to harm them, somebody that's trying to take their life, somebody that's trying to take their dignity. Women who are being sexually assaulted, no longer because they are able to carry a firearm and effectively use it. The most effective self-defense tool ever invented. We live within a small sliver of human history, 5,000 years of human history. And it's only been about the last 200 years that we've been able to effectively carry a self-defense tool with us everywhere we go. 200 years, maybe 250. The most effective self-defense tool. And in that time, we've created a government whose purpose is to defend your individual rights. You've seen the individual rights of everybody flourish. Women, minorities, LGBT, you name it, in that 200-year history. The same slice of history where people can effectively defend themselves. That's not a coincidence. Those are directly related. So I want to talk about the organization real quick and how we started. it was 2008, beginning of 2008. I was in the desert shooting with some friends, and a federal law enforcement officer decided he didn't like what we were doing. So he tried to tell me that my firearm that I had legally purchased right down the street at Discount Gun Mart was considered an assault weapon. And it was actually a pump action shotgun. Now, this is federal law enforcement who was way overstepping his bounds. But I want to make clear, because federal law enforcement, what they can and can't do, and how they have and haven't been treated has made the headlines. What I did not do is I didn't cuss this guy out. I didn't call him a tyrannical bastard. I didn't accelerate my car towards him. I didn't assault him. What I did do is I acted like an adult, and I showed him that I understood the law and that he didn't. And when that happened, he said, okay, fine. You can have your firearm back, and that'll be that. But during that process, I discovered that he was also, and there's a whole big long story as to how that happened. But while I was doing that, I discovered that he was a firearms enthusiast himself, and that the laws he was trying to arrest me on, he didn't agree with, let alone understand. And I thought to myself, all it took was a government paycheck for this guy to completely sell his principles down the river. That's all it took. And I got really bummed out. So the other thing I did that I think we need to see more of is I went and got involved. I didn't throw a fit and put a bunch of memes up on Facebook. I didn't do a bunch of hand wringing. I said, okay, it's time for me to get involved. And I went and I joined every organization I possibly could, including the local Libertarian Party. How many people, do you guys remember Mike Benoit? Anybody remember him? Remember that guy? I miss him greatly. He was a really great guy. I went to every meeting I could think of, Republican, Libertarian, gun club, you name it, I'd show up. And I wanted things to happen now. And I made a lot of mistakes. And I learned from those mistakes. But I did a lot of things right too. And I learned from that as well. But what I definitely found out is if I went to a meeting, I wanted to do something. I'd walk out going, hey, what was the point? I just sat there for an hour and a half. What are we doing here? Oh, we had a guest speaker, and there was some potato chips, and those were free. And it's okay. I want to do something, though. I want to make something happen. And I discovered that the organizations that were getting people elected and changing public policy had a few things in common. Number one, they all had full-time employees. They all had full-time employees that were working on taking your rights away and raising your taxes. The other thing is they all raised money. They all raised money to get people elected, like 6 and sometimes 7 figures. And that was really intimidating to me because you see in the movies a $500 a plate meal, $1,000 a plate dinner, right? Tuxedos, and you don't have to do that. The first fundraiser I hosted was in my living room. I took all my furniture and I put it in the garage. And my living room turned into a meeting spot, and I served coffee and some Entenmann's, and I had a guy running for sheriff come in and talk about how important carry permits were, and I invited every neighbor I possibly could, and we raised a couple $1,000s for this guy. That was the first step into raising money. The other thing they did is they organized people. They made sure that people had something meaningful and effective to do as activists, that they didn't just show up and go, what was the point of that meeting? And sometimes, it was just a matter of saying, hey, we need this precinct walk. We need this flyer folded and stuffed in an envelope. We need a plan. We need an outline. We need a better website. We need a whatever. But they were moving the ball forward, yard by yard. Because there's really only two tools in politics. That's people and money. That's it. You could have the best ideas in the world. And the Libertarian Party, you guys are blessed because you're actually right about everything. But if you're right about everything, you don't have any people and you don't have any money, then nobody cares. It's a cold world. Now, the other side of that is you could be wrong about everything and have all kinds of people and all kinds of money, and then you turn into California. So I decided that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on people and money. We're going to grow our organization so that we have a ton of people doing a ton of things, and everybody's going to chip in. You know, our organization is a PAC, a political action committee. Everybody's heard good and bad things about PACs, right? Well, we're a PAC, and I'm very proud of that. But I say we're the Joe and Jane lunchbox of PACs. We don't have people dropping $10,000 in our PAC. We have people donating $10 a month in our PAC. In fact, one of the organizations I patterned our organization after is called the Lincoln Club. If you guys heard of the Lincoln Club? Lincoln Club's a pro-business PAC. And I borrowed heavily from their structure. But we're way better. But we have about 10 times, let me repeat that. We have 10 times as many members, and they raise about 3 times as much money. So we're the Joe Lunchbox of PACs. Hey, you want to compete with the rich? You know? You want to make sure that your voice is heard? Great. Join San Diego County Gun Owners. Now, we focus just on Second Amendment issues, and there's a bunch of people who've said, hey, this Second Amendment candidate, well, they believe this, that, and the other thing on some other issue. I say, okay, great. Well, then you need to find me somebody who's going to run and agree with you on every issue, and then we'll endorse them. But right now, this is the Second Amendment guy. And the Second Amendment guy, we're going to make sure that they're funded, and we're going to make sure that they have volunteers so that Republicans and Democrats have to fight over us. That's the idea. Now, we have 4 criteria. If you're looking to be endorsed by San Diego County Gun Owners, we have 4 criteria. Number 1, of course, is you have to be pro-Second Amendment, right? That's kind of a no-brainer. We have a questionnaire, and I do a lot of vetting. In fact, I got to tell you, I would put our vetting up against any organization in San Diego and probably California and most across the country. I mean, we vet. We get down deep. We want to know what you really think. We don't just look at some stupid questionnaire and say, all right, it's good enough for us. No. I have the pleasure of telling you that I have literally made candidates cry. And I don't want you to think I'm bragging, but I am bragging. There is nothing that feels better than making a political candidate shed tears. And if you don't believe me, try it. It's a beautiful thing. Anyway, where was I? So Second Amendment, number 1. Number 2, you have to be viable. You have to be viable. You have to do the things it takes in order to win. If you don't have any money, you don't have any volunteers, you don't know how much money you're going to raise, you don't know how you're going to raise it. I talked to one guy and I said, hey, how much money do you think you're going to have to raise? He said, I don't know. Okay, not a good start. I said, how much did the last guy raise who won in your district? He said, I don't really know. And I said, well, I know, it was $25,000. He said, yeah, I probably need about $25,000. I said, okay, we're getting somewhere. I said, all right, let's say I wave a magic wand and you have your $25,000. How are you going to spend that $25,000? I don't really know. Okay, you have to be a viable candidate. I'm not going to ask our 4,000 plus members to support you with their time and their dime if you're not doing the things it takes to get elected. So a lot of times when I talk to candidates, it's not so much about what the Second Amendment means or is. We'll get to that. I can sniff that out easily. I can educate too. If somebody is philosophically against or for us and we want to fill in the blanks, no problem. But what I need to know is, hey, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? Do you have a staff? What would you do if you had a staff? How many volunteers could you get to show up at your house on a Saturday morning to walk neighborhoods? That's the stuff that really counts. The other one is character. So even if they love the Second Amendment and understand it thoroughly, even if they can raise money and organize people, if they're breaking the law or doing something weird, we're out. You still have to be a good person. I still got to wake up in the morning and look at myself in the mirror and say, hey, I'm proud of everybody that we supported. And then the fourth thing we added last was effectiveness. I can't tell you how many people have promised us the sun, the moon, and the stars, and then they got into office and suddenly wouldn't return my phone calls. Actually, I take that back. I probably exaggerated. It really only is a few people. I probably could tell you how many people. It's probably less than a handful. But they really pissed me off. So we added that. So that's the four criteria. If you're going to run for office in San Diego and you want our endorsement, that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. And in exchange, we'll add you to our voter guide. We'll introduce you to our members. We'll spend money promoting our voter guide in the area where you're running. We'll help you with volunteers. We'll do all the things it takes to help you get elected. We can't win the whole election for you. You still got to pull your weight. But that's who we are and what we do. Big part of what we do is changing culture. For decades, the Second Amendment organizations were like, we're not going to go on the liberal media, doesn't give us a fair shake. And so what would happen is if there was a Second Amendment story, they only got one side and it was the other side. Now, if something comes up in the news, I'm on the phone with ABC, NBC, CBS, Kogo, radio, print, Union Tribune. Hey, we want to talk. We want to give you our side of the story. It's important. We want to be their voice. We want to make sure that you have statistics that are accurate, not slanted. We have Gun Owners Radio. We started Gun Owners Radio about 6 or 7 years ago. In fact, we're about to do our 500th episode. So whatever 500 divided by 52 is. Thank you. So, and we interview, it's a political show. We talk about Second Amendment, but it's mostly a political show. We want to show, hey, why do these politicians do what they do and how do they, we pull back the curtain and show you what goes on behind the scenes. And we're honest about people. You know, hey, here's what this person actually told me when I sat down and had lunch with them. Here's what this person actually did when we got them into office and needed them to vote our way. We talk about it and we get that message out there. I'm extremely confident that we are in the middle of a golden age of Second Amendment. We keep taking hits, like in Virginia. They keep passing laws like limiting where we can carry, what we can carry, how we can carry. In fact, one particularly horrible law that just passed is they decided to, and I'm always curious, I'm always wondering, what are they going to come up with next? You know, what could they possibly think up next? And lately, they just came up with law, AB 1127, that just passed into law, where they basically described a piece, a little metal piece of a Glock. How many people here know what a Glock is? You know what a Glock is? So there's a little piece inside a Glock, and they said, hey, if your gun has this little piece, then we're going to call it a machine gun, and we're going to ban it. The most popular firearm, handgun, in the United States, possibly the world. And you can't buy one in California starting January 1st. So we're, 5-6 weeks into it. How many people knew about that law? How many people know that you can't go into a gun shop right now in California and purchase a Glock? That's insane. Is that reasonable? Is that common sense gun law? Absolutely not. That's extremism. That's tyranny. Now, there's a lawsuit and there's a lot of things going on. And we keep taking these hits. I totally get it. But on the other hand, there are 26,000 people with CCWs in San Diego. When San Diego County Gun Owners started, there were 1,100. 1,100. Now there's about 400 or 500 new people every month and that's increasing. I just interviewed the sheriff of Riverside a couple of nights ago. He's running for governor. His name's Chad Bianco. And he took his, he's been in 7 years. He took his county from, I think it was like 500 to like 60,000 CCWs. 2.5 million people in that county, and 60,000 of them are carrying every day. That's a cultural change. Yeah, it's public policy. It's a public policy change, right? But that's going to change the culture. More people in California know somebody who carries every single day. It's no longer weird, right? And that's an important piece of the puzzle. So I think we're in the middle of a golden age when it comes to Second Amendment. I think 10 years from now, we're going to look back at this time and go, wow, look at how much we got accomplished. We're going to continue to win lawsuits. We're going to continue to win at the ballot box. But most important, we're going to win at the soapbox. People are going to look at Second Amendment like they never have before. And I'm very, very proud of that. I think that California has a really bright history when it comes to Second Amendment. A lot of trainers, a lot of manufacturers, a lot of good things have come out of California. But in the last 20, 30 years, the laws have been so restrictive that they've all moved. So we have a really bright history when it comes to Second Amendment. And if I have something to say about it, we're going to have a real bright future. I'm already looking forward to it. So that's who we are and what we do. And I really thought about what I was going to talk about here today. And the one thing I truly want to encourage you all to do is raise the money, raise the people, and get some people elected. Get into the arena, find one person, get them on a city council, and show them that, hey, the libertarian way to balance a budget, a city's budget, the libertarian way to pick up garbage and fill potholes is superior. Get somebody elected. And then get a second person elected. And then get a 10th person elected. And make these people shake in their boots. Make some of your own politicians cry. And see how good it feels. But that's what I encourage. So with that, do we have time for questions? Yes, sir. Congratulations. Yeah. I can actually that'd be excellent. There's a movement in New Jersey. New Jersey's horrible on Second Amendment as well, and they've actually fought back against unreasonable laws or unreasonable costs by the city councils to get permits, and some of those cities are actually reimbursing people for their permits. So let's talk. I can plug you into people that have a roadmap for you. I think that's wonderful. Thank you so much. You're in Oxnard? Did you run as a libertarian?
Everyone knew I was a libertarian. I got 53% of the vote in a four-way race against an incumbent only got 29.
You beat an incumbent as a libertarian.
As a libertarian, and I ran in a Hispanic district where I'm the only non-Hispanic running. Basically, the type of campaign I ran was the type every candidate should run. Just so much grassroots, door-to-door follow-up. And I can tell you more details. I won't bore the rest of the crowd here. But I'll tell you how I did it.
What's one that all sounds great? It sounds like you did all the right things. What's one thing you didn't do that helped you? One thing that you stayed away from that helped you? Yeah, what's something you didn't do? Well, I didn't do this, and that helped me get elected.
I didn't waste time on social media because that's not the voters. I went actually to the voters where they were so they could have a relationship with me. Because most people have no clue who their council is. I mean, I walked 4,700 doors over 378 hours doing it. And I met maybe 10 people who knew who the company was. So, and that's typical out there. So because I established that relationship, because I had a very personalized follow-up system, because I had a son one out of every 5 houses I visited, it just created this groundswell of support. And right now, I want to get several other people elected to the council.
Good. That's amazing.
Who can take us down this path to the majority.
That's amazing. I got to tell you, so a few years ago, the city of Santee had a candidate running. His name's Dustin Trotter. Dustin won by 4 votes. And Dustin was I think he was the second guy to write a check to San Diego County gun owners. I remember I was sitting there talking to him. We were actually at a bar. And that's where all good things start, right? All good stories. We're sitting at a bar. And I told him the idea. And he said, I'm going to write you a check. Boom, wrote a check. Ran for office. We helped him get elected. Ran for re-election. He won by 4 votes. The local Democratic Party said, we want a recount, which I thought was hilarious because at the time, they were absolutely bashing Trump for wanting a recount, and saying, oh, gee, how dare you question our system, And meanwhile, the local San Diego Democratic Party demanded a recount. But here's why I'm telling you that story. I went and volunteered, and what they would do is they'd have 2 people sitting in front of me, and one of them would hold up the ballot and say, Dustin Trotter, and the other one would say, I agree. And that's how they did the recount. And my job was to stand there with a Democratic guy, and the 2 of us would keep an eye on the 2 people that were recounting. What I got to do is I got to see about 1,500 ballots. I couldn't read the names, but I saw how people voted. And a lot of times it was very partisan. If they voted for one Republican, they voted all Republican. If they voted for one Democrat, they voted all Democrat. But a surprising amount of people voted for people that had nothing in common with other people they voted for. I mean, nothing in common. Because I know all the candidates. I know where they stand. I'm going, wait a minute. They voted for this guy and that guy? They don't agree on anything. And really, what you're describing, going door to door, shaking hands, that's the most effective way to get a vote. When the candidate shakes someone's hand and meets them, that's the strongest way to get a vote. Everything further away from that is a little less effective. So if they talk to somebody they trust and that person says, hey, vote for this guy, they might, but it's more effective if the actual candidate does it. If they read about a candidate, they might vote, but it's more effective if the actual candidate, shakes their hand, that sort of thing. But what I've seen that explains why people vote for this guy and they don't agree with each other is a lot of times it's just, hey, I met that guy and he seemed like a good guy. Now, you guys, I know libertarians. I've met libertarians before. I was a libertarian before. And you guys analyze the hell out of everything. Well, there's some old joke about if you want it's something like if you ask 2 libertarians for an opinion, they'll give you 5 of them or something like that. Anyway, you guys analyze, but most people don't even know who they're voting for, let alone what they're voting for. So just reaching out and just being that trusted person. Hey, you know what? I know this guy, or hey, this guy is really good, or hey, I trust this guy. I like this guy or girl or whoever's running. Extremely effective. You don't have to sit there and explain to them how, look, if we just get a libertarian mayor, we're going to audit the Fed. And here's why that's important. A lot of times you don't have to do that. You just have to get, like, hey, this person's trusted. They were, right down the street here, come have a cup of coffee at my house with them and meet them, and boom, a lot of times that's the most effective way to get somebody elected. Congratulations, though. Very, very cool. I'm so glad that you showed up here today and got elected. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Yeah. What do they do? Good question. So we actually, so it does exist, Orange County gun owners and Inland Empire gun owners. Inland Empire gun owners is Riverside and San Bernardino. They didn't quite take hold like San Diego did. San Diego's got 4,300 members, of one of which is you, and I appreciate your membership very much. I've realized that it's a heavy lift. We're not just a social club. It's not just like we'll have a meeting and come eat some free pizza. It's, hey, we got to raise money. We got to vet candidates. We got to get them elected. So it's a little bit of a heavy lift. And I'm working on ideally having about a dozen of these. There's 58 counties in California, and each county doesn't have the population to support, an entire organization all by itself. But I think there's some strategic places. I think the Bay Area needs a couple. I think Sacramento County needs one. LA County definitely. So we're working on it. But again, it's people and money. That's what makes or breaks a political organization. Whether that political organization is trying to get an individual elected, or they're trying to be Second Amendment, whatever they're trying to do, people and money. Any other questions? How am I on time? Anybody have any other questions? Okay. All right, good. Well, truly, thank you guys very, very much. How many people are from San Diego? You guys are from San Diego? Wow. Where are you? Can I just talk to the crowd for a minute? Does everybody mind? All right. Kick me off if I get annoying. So where are the rest of you guys from? Wow. So you came all the way down to San Diego. That's awesome. You're from IE? Who's from IE? Excellent. Oh, yeah, you're from IE. That's awesome. That's cool. Well, there's a book that I'd highly recommend, and it's called Confrontational Politics by H.L. Richardson. There you go. H.L. Richardson was a state senator back in the 70s who got sick and tired of all the gun crap. And he started Gun Owners of America and Gun Owners of California. And he had two daughters, and his two daughters, one of them went and helped start NRA ILA, their PAC. And the other one helped, run and start Gun Owners of California. I think they even have a third generation working at Gun Owners of California. Anyway, H.L. Richardson's Confrontational Politics, that book is a guidebook on how to start an organization, on how to be an effective activist. It's funny. I designed San Diego County Gun Owners, and then read Confrontational Politics, and I was like, "Hey, wow, we totally plagiarized this guy." And he was happy we did, because he wants more activism in California. H.L. Richardson. Highly recommend that book. It like I said, it's absolutely a guide. Another tip I want to give you is when you do talk to a candidate, when you do talk to an elected official, I've learned that you have to treat them a particular way. You can't treat them too nice, and you can't treat them too mean. I recommend to people that you treat candidates the way you would treat an underperforming employee. Now, you know what I'm talking about. An underperforming employee, they're not bad enough that you're going to fire them, but they're not good enough to get the Christmas bonus either. Gee, gosh, I wish sure you showed up on time today, but TPS reports are three days overdue. That's how you have to treat these politicians and candidates. If you go in and say, "I'm never going to vote for you," You screwed up that last thing. I'm never going to vote for you. Guess what that guy or girl is going to do? Okay, I'm out. Why would I ever talk to you? Why would I appease? Why would I move on any position if you're never going to vote for me again? On the other hand, if you go in and say, man, you walk on water. You are my favorite. I love you so much. This is great. Well, now you're in that person's back pocket, and he doesn't have to listen to you anymore either. Right? If you take 100 people and put them in front of a politician or candidate, and 99 love the candidate, and one of them standing there with their arms crossed, going, I'm not so sure about this guy. Guess who that candidate is going to spend all his time talking to? Because the other 99 are in his back pocket. Why does he have to convince them of anything? So when you're talking to a politician, when you're talking to a candidate, when you're talking to anybody in any public office, talk to them like they're an underperforming employee. Yeah, that last vote, it was okay, I guess. Gee, I sure wish you'd do this. I don't see any of this happening. But, I don't know. Maybe you're not capable. So that's something I've definitely learned. The other thing I've learned is if you are walking precincts and you don't have a lot, does anybody know what a precinct is? So a neighborhood, right? You're walking a neighborhood and you're passing out pamphlets. If you want to know, and you maybe, excuse me, maybe you don't have a list. Maybe you just want to, rather than going door to door, if you have candidate information or some kind of valuable political information that you want to pass out, you don't want to just go door to door and, waste it on people that are never going to read it. Look down the street, and everybody who has an American flag in front of their house, go to their house. Skip the rest. And if they have a Gadsden flag, you knock on their door with some political information, man, they're going to be like, hold on. They're going to come back with their musket and go, okay, I've been waiting for this. Let's go. Let's roll right now. No. I just need you to take a pamphlet today. So I've actually, we've done that. I got a carload of people, and we went into neighborhoods with San Diego County gun owner stuff. And I just dropped people off at American flag and Gadsden flag houses. Said, here, just go give them information. It was amazingly effective. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? You guys done with me? Okay, good. So the last thing I'll say is check us out, San Diego County Gun Owners, or sdcgo.org. Or if you're not from San Diego, or even if you are from San Diego, check out gunownersradio.com. Gunownersradio.com. Even if you're not that particularly interested in firearms, gun law, whatever, we interview candidates. I just interviewed Steve Hilton, who's running for governor, and he was not real happy with the interview because I was not real happy with some of the things he said. But we talk to candidates. We talk about different issues. We talk about media. We do more than just, which is better, 9mm or 45. We actually talk about politics and media and things that are interesting. So Gun Owners Radio, thank you guys very much. I really, truly appreciate you guys having me.